Welcome to the You Seem Great podcast. I'm Becca, a former therapist and matchmaker turned date coach.
And I'm Talia, a professional matchmaker and founder of a leading matchmaking company. Together, we have helped hundreds of singles find love. We're here to share our expert tips and tricks to help you find and keep love too. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the You Seem Great podcast. Today, we're talking about dating after a breakup. I don't really have much more to say. The end. See you next time.
Yeah. Well, it's not surprising because it is a challenging topic. It's not the funnest topic and it's sad, but let's talk about it because it's important. Before we begin, I have some there's dating breakup quotes you often hear. So I want to play a little true and false with you. Okay. True or false? The first cut is the deepest.
True.
Ah, interesting. True for you? True for everyone?
I don't know. At least me.
Okay.
What about you?
No. Maybe. I didn't have many breakups, to be honest.
Oh, interesting.
But
you one and done?
No, I had two. My second serious boyfriend was my husband. First one I broke up.
Interesting.
I got the upper hand. No, I'm just kidding. Shit. So my husband's going to break up with me eventually and it's going to cut deep. No, I'm just kidding. We love each other. It's fine. Okay. True or false? The only way to get over someone is to get under someone.
Is there a middle? Not true, not false. Sometimes.
Okay. True or false? The "it's not you, it's me" line.
True.
Oh.
I think it's true. I mean, okay, now that I'm really thinking about it, I guess sometimes it is you, but
yeah,
mostly it's them. If that's the first time you're learning about it, I feel like the person didn't communicate if that's what
exactly
the first time you're hearing about it.
Yeah, if it's the first time you're hearing about it, then it is in fact them.
Yeah.
Do you have any hacks that worked for you in some of your hardest breakups?
I had a lot, but now it's all flashing before my eyes. I broke up with most people, so wasn't on the receiving end of a lot of breakups.
There you have it. Talia Goldstein, heartbreaker extraordinaire. Okay.
But my heart was broken the first time, so that's why I said first cut.
Okay, then you learned, and then you started breaking hearts. The heart slayer. Okay. Well, before we even get into how to handle a breakup and date after a breakup, I really want to talk about the breakup itself. A lot of my clients have breakups that are extended, are not clear, are not clean. There's some back and forth. And sure, some of that is normal. You have probably been with this person for a long time, integrated your lives fully. It's hard to really separate that. But when you decide that you are ready to date again, make it very clear for yourself. There's obviously exceptions if you have children, if you share property, things that you actually logistically have to be collaborative about. But if it's just a breakup that's simple, keep it simple. Don't reach out, don't extend branches, because any energy that you put into that former relationship is energy that is being taken away from you and energy that is being taken away from being able to date. Even if you think, oh, I can talk to him and still date other people. I hear that all the time. And it's no, but you actually aren't giving it a full chance.
Right.
So you're half in, half out.
It kind of reminds me, now that we're in this and I'm going back through my brain, of maybe this is a hack, something that I dated someone for 3 years and it was ending. And we picked a date. We maybe decided August that we weren't going to continue on anymore. We said January 1st, that's when we are going to part ways. And so I had all this time to say goodbye to his friends, to get it all out of my system.
Whoa.
We spent New Year's together. I said goodbye, New Year's brunch to everyone. And then that was it. It was a clean break.
What? That's wild.
I know, it's a little bit crazy, but at least I got that all out of my system, because I do think sometimes when you do have a breakup, then you're like, but those were my friends too. And there's stuff between you where it's hard to really have a clean break.
I guess so. But that takes some emotional resilience. You got to be pretty strong for that.
Yeah.
That's bold. Okay.
Interesting.
I like that. I don't hate it, but that's tough. Okay. So let's talk. You're broken up now. Clean break. You're considering getting back out there and dating. The one thing that is very important to do is reflect back on the relationship and understand the dynamic that started to form that then didn't work later on down the road.
Mhm.
A lot of times we hyper-focus on the event itself that caused the breakup. The event is usually just a symptom of a larger thing that was happening underneath the surface the whole time. And if you don't address that, if you aren't aware of it, you will likely find yourself in that scenario once again.
Mhm.
So really, as annoying as this is to hear, breakups are an opportunity to better understand yourself. And if you can create meaning out of it and insight from it, then it becomes a lot less painful. You can take it as a learning experience and go on your merry way.
Mhm. So how would someone go about figuring out what those patterns are? I think it's very hard to see for yourself, like to analyze the past relationship and figure out what those connection points are. So do you go to a therapist? Do you go to a date coach? Like, how are you assessing what happened in the breakup?
You can go to a therapist, you can go to a date coach, you can go to a date coach, former therapist. You can go to a matchmaker even and consult with somebody who's in the space who's familiar with relationship dynamics. Or you can simply sit and really take the time to think through what were the things that really worked well for me in this relationship? What did not work well for me in this relationship? Did this relationship remind me of old familiar patterns in my family that I now know is something I don't want for myself? So you can do some of this self-reflection alone, but sometimes it is way helpful to have a third-party perspective to kind of connect the dots for you, because it could just seem like a pile of arguments that you can't really make clarity out of.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's definitely something that I ask in the matchmaking meetings is exactly that. Like to walk me through what worked well and what didn't work well in your last relationship. And often that's the first time they're thinking about it.
Yeah. Not only that, I always ask that as well. And then I ask, okay, so how do you plan to vet for that moving forward? That's always my follow-up question. And a lot of times it's like, well, there's no way to. There's always a way to.
Yeah.
So you really want to be sure that you're going into dating using the relationship as insight. Otherwise, it's just heartbreak, and that sucks.
Exactly. And you'll repeat the cycle over and over again.
Yep. 100%. Okay. So the next thing you really want to do is make sure that you re-engage in anything that really fills your cup up that you might have neglected while you were in the relationship. It is very normal in a relationship. It's not a sign of lack of health, but it's very normal in a relationship to lose some of the things that you were tethered to pre-relationship. You have a finite amount of energy that you can give. So if you are now placing some into a relationship, you can assume it's no longer going to you. So you get that energy back and you put it back into yourself. If there's a hobby that you've been slacking on, if there is an interest that you wanted to pursue, if there's a friend group that you've lost touch with, re-engage into those so that you can start to get your sense of self back and build that up so that you're entering into the dating space with a fully formed, or as much as possible formed, sense of self.
Yeah, I feel like that's when the revenge body comes in. They go hit the gym and then all of a sudden they have that revenge body.
That brings me to an interesting point where sometimes I do feel like it's easier to break up in a space of anger than when you just genuinely realize it's a lack of compatibility.
Yes.
Because the anger is so motivating. Whereas like if it's like a fully healthy, like we've just realized that we want different things, it can feel so brutal because it's like, why?
Yes.
Why did that happen?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I broke up with someone and he was like Forrest Gump. He just ran and ran and ran and ran.
Oh my God.
So fit.
In real life, Forrest Gump. Wow. Yeah. I broke up with my first boyfriend and then befriended the 6 surfer dudes in the house next to me in San Diego. Maybe that's why it didn't hurt. I just went next door. Hey, I want to introduce myself. And, you know.
But you're right. It's such a good point. If it's like you were cheated on or you just decided it wasn't a fit any longer, that is so much harder to deal with. I feel like the anger, you just crank up the music and you get angry.
Celine Dion.
Oh, yes.
Put on that Celine Dion.
Fighter.
Yes. Yes. Get it going. Just
if you are in need of a playlist, I've got just the one for you.
Talia has them all. But yeah, and you have to accept that you will be riding really intense waves. Waves of empowerment, waves of sadness, waves of fear, waves of loneliness, waves of excitement. It's all normal. It's kind of like after a breakup, the volume on your emotions just gets cranked up. But it doesn't mean that they won't pass. It doesn't mean that you won't get back to equilibrium. It's just a
Yeah.
huge life shift. And so the more that we can accept that and just coast on the waves of whatever comes up for us, the quicker they will pass and the better outlook you will have. Because what my clients do is they will be in a wave of sadness, and then their brain will interpret that to mean I'm going to be lonely forever. And if you feel like you're going to be lonely forever, you're going to act like you're going to be lonely forever.
Right.
So you don't want to let your emotional experience that's totally normal dictate the way that you function moving forward, because you will be unintentionally creating roadblocks for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, you're going to be grieving.
Yes, it's grief.
It's grief. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So do you feel like you need to be fully healed to get back on the market?
100% no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say more.
I feel like people think this, like they go through a breakup and they're like, I'm going to take all this time for myself. I need to be fully healed. You don't have to be fully healed. Nobody's fully healed. No one's coming into a relationship fully whole. So, and we can talk about this. Part of it depends on how much time you have to grieve, but just know part of being in a relationship is growing with them and learning. And so you don't have to be fully healed to get back into a relationship.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I completely agree. In fact, it's very unlikely that you will be fully healed before getting into a relationship, because if you think about it, the thing that was, air quotes, broken inside of you was relational. It was dependent on a relationship with another person. So you can regulate on your own. You can get back to a place of equilibrium on your own. You can get to a place of acceptance on your own. But the next stage of feeling safe in a relationship is only going to come when you're in a relationship with someone new who has different qualities than the person you dated. Right. So part of like step 2 of healing has to happen in relation to somebody else. So you should feel in a place of acceptance. You should feel in a place where you are somewhat even keeled about the breakup, but you don't need to feel fully healed, whatever that even means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think just when you show up on the date, you don't want the other person to say, oh, they haven't healed from their ex. Like, just, there's no reason to have long conversations about it. You can have an elevator pitch and that's it. Like, you don't have to discuss anything about the past relationship.
Yeah. We will get into that as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. So you touched on this, but I want to expand on it. How much time do you think you need?
Okay. This is tricky, but there's no set amount of time, but age comes into play. So I think if, let's say you break up with someone in your early 20s, it was a really tough breakup, you have some time to grieve and to go out and enjoy yourself and play the field, whatever you want to do. You do have some time, but sometimes, unfortunately, you don't have a lot of time. So, like, for example, I worked with a client. She was 40 when we started working together. She really wanted children, and we matched her. She dated this guy for almost a year. We thought for sure they were getting engaged, and unfortunately, he broke up with her. We were both devastated. But she, again, now was like 40, 41, really wanted children. So she did not have the time to grieve like she probably would have liked to. We basically just said, take a weekend, go to a spa with girlfriends, see what you can process. We got to get back out there. And so I just started interviewing people right away. To make a long story short, she ended up married. She has a child now. It all worked out. But like, she really didn't have a year or two to grieve. Like, we had to get back out there. So I think it's a little bit age dependent and just where you're at in your life and what your goals are. Sometimes you have more time than others.
I also feel like the older you are, sometimes the quicker you can process through a breakup, because you have more logic on your side. You have more wisdom, life experience. You've encountered difficult situations that you've overcome. So you have more evidence that you're resilient. Whereas in your 20s, it's like, my life is over. Like, you need that time because it's really overwhelming. And so there's something about like, yes, you don't have the time if you have certain goals. And also you might not even need the time. You might be able to pick up the pieces and get back out there and process while you're dating. Yeah.
Do you think it's helpful to have a lot of dating experience? I mean, like, the more you date, is it easier to break up and move on? Like, if you've only had one relationship, does that make a difference?
I don't think so. I think breakups are always hard no matter how many or how little you have. I think they're always painful. But for me, what makes the biggest difference is how my clients conceptualize it. And if they're able to step back and say like, okay, let me examine this and make something meaningful of it. The clients who just kind of like stay in the cycle of like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. I'm going to be lonely. I'm going to be die alone. I'm never going to have kids. That is so time consuming and does not allow you to do anything purposeful with your breakup. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's one of the hardest things to do, for sure. I'm helping a client through it right now. But like, you have to retrain your brain because you are now a fully functioning adult who has access to your frontal lobe. So it just takes more effort, but it's possible, you know?
Yeah. What advice do you give your clients when the person that they are now broken up with is with someone else?
That's always an interesting one. The first thing I ask is like, are you stalking them? Like, are you over invested in their life? You know, because like that's a you thing that we need to address. But the other part of it is like, we don't really need to care about what's right for that person anymore. That is no longer our responsibility, and that's no longer what we need to place energy into. We only need to worry about what's right for you. And you're probably sitting here trying to think, oh, I wonder if they have the same issues. I wonder if he's better to her. I wonder if blah, blah, blah. That is a waste of your energy. So when you find your brain going there, redirect, because the only thing that matters is what's going to serve you. And again, you have a finite amount of energy. If you're going to put that energy into wondering about his life, that's energy that's not going to go into your life or your future partner's life. So yeah, it's again, like advice. It's a retraining. There's no simple solution. It just takes a lot of like mental willpower and like redirecting your thought.
Yeah. It's like out of your control. You need to focus on yourself.
Yeah. And like text the people who can remind you of that. There's going to be some friends who are like, yeah, screw him. I can't believe it. Did you see what he did with Cindy? Like, blah, blah, blah. No. Don't go to those friends. That's not who you want to talk to post breakup. You want to talk to the person who says, I hear that you're in pain. I'm here to help you through that. And I really think it's time to focus on yourself.
Exactly. I'm bringing over a bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Let's watch a movie.
Yes, exactly. Other random thing, like go feed the homeless. Go do something for other people. This is actually a trick that's used a lot in recovery. It's like when you are feeling so absorbed in your own pain, it's hard to remember there's a world out there that exists. So you need to reorient in the bigger picture. And one way to do that is to help someone else. So like if you're feeling in pain, help someone else as a way to kind of neutralize. Works for some, you know, might be a hack.
No, I've heard that it is actually scientifically proven.
There you go. It's in the science. Okay. So you're ready to date again, or maybe not ready, but you're going to do it. You're dating. Here are some things to be mindful of. The first thing is realign what your expectations are. Recognize that the first person you meet might not be it. In fact, the first date you go on might be a bad date. That does not mean that it's hopeless. I think a lot of times when we come out of a relationship, we try to tell ourselves, okay, this is exciting. I can meet new people. And if the first one flops, it's over for us. We're devastated. We're just like, I knew this was bad. Should I not have broken up? Like there's this whole dialogue that happens. It's just a bad date. You could have gone on it 3 months from now. You could have gone on it today. It'll happen. Like expect that you will go on some bad dates. That is normal. The other thing I see happen is when we've been with someone for a long period of time, it's really hard to reorient in what early stage dating behavior is, because we're so used to being cared for by a partner who's been with us for years at times. So like if he doesn't do things perfectly, if he's not overly asking questions the way your partner would, if he's not treating you like it's a relationship, that is normal. That doesn't mean anything bad about him. It's just a different connection. And you have to remember that you're starting from the beginning again, even if you are still in the space of the relationship that you were in. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yeah. He doesn't know you.
Yeah.
He just met you. So he can't treat you the way that you're
exactly. Yeah. Like I've seen a situation where like the guy is like, they've slept together semi early on. And then she felt like, oh, we're in a relationship. And it's like, no, it's just like, this was a dating process. And he thought they were dating. She thought, oh, this is serious. And you have to like reorient yourself.
Yes. Back to square one.
Yeah. So that is very important to remind yourself of. Also set the expectation that there are many different reasons to date. And right after a breakup, you might not be dating to find your person. You might be dating to rebuild that skill set. You might be dating to meet new people and see what's out there. You might be dating to regain access to yourself in a certain way that you haven't had for many years. So recognize that dating offers a lot of different things, not just about finding your person. So that way it can feel successful in different ways and there's opportunity for growth instead of feeling like it's a black and white pass or fail, depending on if it's a good match.
Yeah. That's why I feel like dating apps especially are so challenging because everyone's on there for different reasons. Like you might be fresh out of a breakup and you just want to go have fun, and the person you're on a date with wants marriage. And so there are just so many different reasons to date, which is great. Everyone should have their own reasons. But that's why the apps can be challenging. If you're on a date with someone, you just might not align in your timeline and what you're looking for.
Yeah. And it's okay to be transparent about that before you go on a date. Like, hey, I'm really enjoying our connection, but I want to make it clear I just got out of a 2-year relationship and I'm just getting back out there. So I'm not sure if that means I'm open to something new, but it definitely means I need to go slow at whatever needs to happen. So if you're not okay with that or in that place, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Copy paste.
Perfect. That's so kind.
Yeah. That's all it can be. It doesn't need to be rude, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing to be mindful of is choose your dating strategy. There are, in my brain, 3 different ways to date: the apps, matchmakers, and organically, essentially. You know?
Agreed.
Choose what's going to work best for you based on why you want to date and based on the bandwidth that you have. If you feel too sensitive to the potential of having a bad date, maybe don't go on the dating apps. Maybe go to a matchmaker or try to date organically. If you feel like you just want to blast through a lot of dates to get an experience, go on the dating apps. So get really intentional about what you're needing in dating and then pursue a game plan that's going to work for you. And recognize you're going to have to put effort into it, but make sure you're putting effort in a way that's going to give you back what you're actually looking for.
Yeah. We work with a lot of people who are fresh out of a breakup or fresh out of a divorce. And dating has changed so much. Like some people, they haven't dated in 20, 30 years. It is so helpful to have a partner on the journey with you. Like that's why matchmaking is so helpful, not only on the vetting, like just to make sure you're going on quality dates, but to navigate dating again with a partner who's an expert.
Yeah. I have a client right now. He's incredible, going through a divorce, dating for the first time in 20-something years. And we had like 5 sessions before he even went on a first date to be like, what do I really need? How am I feeling right now? How can we've created his elevator pitch for how to talk about it, what to look for in a partner, what dynamic led to the divorce, right? Like we've parsed it apart, and he just went on his first date last night and he felt ready and excited, you know?
Amazing.
So it does matter. It doesn't have to be a great length of time, but it does matter what you do with that time.
Agreed.
Okay. The last and arguably most important thing to consider, which we've touched on, is how are you going to talk about this breakup on the date? Because that will make or break a date.
100%. I've seen this go south so many times.
Yeah. You want an elevator pitch. I feel like you are good at elevator pitches. What's your thoughts on how to craft the elevator?
I mean, I think it depends on what happened, but generically you can say like, yes, I was out of a breakup a year ago. We parted ways amicably. I'm excited about dating again. But it depends. There are so many different ways that a breakup could happen.
Yeah.
Or a divorce, but something short and sweet so you don't have to answer questions.
Yes. I have 2 rules when it comes to talking about breakups or divorces. The first rule is super high level, the most vague you can make it. This would be very high level on a first date. You're maybe on date 5. Okay, tell them more details. First date, who cares? Second rule, end it on a sweet note that is looking into the future. Yeah, I went through a challenging breakup. I definitely learned a lot about myself, and I'm really excited to get out there and date with this new knowledge I have.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah. It has to be neutral or positive.
Yeah. You can say it was a hard breakup or I went through a tough relationship, but you should end it on a note that leaves them to say, oh, great, she's out there getting ready to date, or he's out there getting ready to date.
Yeah. The trouble happens, and I see this all the time, when 2 people went through a breakup and then it's a therapy session. Then they're like, oh, this happened. Tell me about what is in your divorce papers. Oh my, you won't even believe what she did. And then for the next hour, they're just shit talking their ex, and it's very hard to have a romantic connection.
Yes.
You might become besties,
Yep.
but you won't become partners.
Not only that, but you will remember the way that that person spoke about their ex, and later down the road, you will wonder if you are being spoken about in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but that's trauma dumping and trauma bonding,
Yes.
and we don't play that game here. So
Exactly. Yeah. Short and sweet. The point
Super
is
high
just
level.
to be with that person and get to know them and not talk about the past.
yeah. There are scenarios where then the person will say, oh, tell me more. What happened? What led to the
Mhm.
breakup? Playfully just say, oh, that's more of a date 3 conversation.
Love it.
I'll let you know if we get there.
Yeah.
Bop it off. If they keep going, shut it down with a boundary.
Mhm.
But like, just, you know, some people are just genuinely curious.
Yes.
Don't answer. That's more of a later date conversation. Let's keep it about you and I tonight.
Perfect. That's so important.
Yes. Yeah. So those are the 3 things to really be mindful of when you are going through a breakup or have gone through a recent breakup and wanting to date again. The one last thing I really want to be sure to mention is that it is very normal and to be expected to have a second wave of grief, either when you start dating again or when you connect with someone new. So sometimes when you form a new relationship, especially if it's close after the past relationship, you will start to feel this secondary wave of grief where you might compare your new partner to your ex.
Mm-hmm.
You might wonder if you made the right decision. You might want to look a little bit more at their Instagram account. This is all very normal.
Mm-hmm.
Do not allow your brain to interpret it as a sign that you should go back to that person.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I ever advise clients to explore anything with a past relationship is if both of them can sit down and have a conversation about what happened in the relationship and what they have done since to
Mm-hmm.
work on their side of what went down in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If both parties are incapable of having that conversation and genuinely having done the work on it, there is no point to re-entering that.
Yeah, completely
So-
agree. Yeah, I think it's so healthy and normal to miss your past partner.
Yeah.
Like, as you're dating, it doesn't mean you need to be with them, but that's like a healthy emotion to miss them
Yes. Yeah.
and what you had.
And it doesn't mean anything bad about your current partner. Doesn't mean that you should get back with your ex-partner. It
Mhm.
just means you're experiencing your second wave of grief, and that's normal. So don't read into it.
Yeah.
Definitely don't act on it.
Yes. And if you need more, call Becca. She's the pro.
Not even call us. Just call me.
Yeah.
I do love working through a breakup.
Yeah.
It's so rich because when people are vulnerable in pain, there's like more desire to understand why. So you can sometimes go deeper than if you're just
Mhm.
feeling even keeled. You're like, why would I
Yeah.
plummet down to that depth right now? You know? So
Yes.
for me, as a date coach, as an observer, as someone who likes to get in there, breakups are really a good opportunity, as painful as they are, to really like dive deep and make some big
Mhm.
changes.
Yeah, I love it. And
Yeah.
then when you want to get back out there, you want to dabble in dating, then call me.
Yeah, exactly. So
The dream
we'll pass them off.
team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us, and please rate and review our podcast. Until next time, thanks. Thank you for joining today's episode of You Seem Great. You can find specifics of the episode in our show notes.
Want more? Follow us at You Seem Great Podcast on social media. Dating is hard. We're here to help.